Golovkin-Martirosyan. Best fight ever. All right. Part 4. Ask Me Anything. June 2018. Let's get right into it. Maciej Kosicki asks, Chris Byrd, your opinions on this fighter's career achievements, and how do you think he would fare against the modern heavyweights? Just too small for this generation as far as a fighter. In an all-time perspective, though, Chris Byrd, 6'1", 74-inch reach. Go back to part 1 of this Ask Me Anything series where I talk about some of the classic heavyweights. He's right there in terms of size. He stacks up against Joe Louis, much bigger than Rocky Marciano. And as far as hand speed and skill set, defensively and everything, better than a lot of the all-time great heavyweights. Now, some people would hear that and think I'm saying blasphemy, but it's the truth, guys. Anyway, Chris Byrd against this generation. Look, man, you saw how he fared against Vladimir Klitschko. I think it'd be much of the same against Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. He would struggle against those guys. He'd always be competitive, but ultimately just too much of a size difference. As far as Chris Byrd, the person, an absolutely wonderful, nice man in a great family. Just a wonderful, nice human being. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet. The world could use more Chris Byrds. Hashtag Joshua Wilder asks, who is the strongest looking boxer you've ever met in person? My guess is Taishan Dong. You must have seen my interview with Taishan Dong. That dude was massive. Golden Boy was trying to promote him as a 7-footer. He wasn't 7 feet. He was more like 6'10", somewhere in that frame. But I've seen a lot of NBA guys that are that tall, and they're not as thick and as solid as him. And the ones who are generally a little fat. There's a little belly fat in them just because naturally to hold that frame up, you need some belly fat in the midsection to hold all that up. And with him, he was just jacked. He was just like this 6'10", 6'11", 280-pound brick. I've never seen a guy that huge, but huge person, ripped for that size, rare. But in terms of training, elite level fighters, professional fighters, Vladimir Klitschko. When I covered his fight with Bryant Jennings, we were there in New York for that whole fight week. We went to the workouts, to all the press engagements and everything. Seeing him work out up close and go through everything he went through it, he was truly a professional athlete, the way he prepared and went through his whole thing. If he was born in the United States, he would have been an NBA All-Star. He would have been an All-Star power forward. Probably one of the best players of his generation. Just a really, really great athlete for such a big guy. And very strong and sturdy. When he'd hit mitts with Jonathan Banks, everything he was doing, and he was just playing, you felt it. It was very, very impressive to see that up close, man. So I'd have to put Vladimir Klitschko up there. John Newman asks, which fighter, if any, has come the closest to intimidating you in person? I'd bet Gassiev. That's a good question, man. Watch my interview with Murat Gassiev that I did recently. And admittedly, I was a little tipsy because it was at the 360 Promotions, their first Hollywood fight night, and Tom Loeffler kept being like, here, Mike, here, Mike, here, Mike. Just feeding us chivas. So I was, a little tipsy, but Gassiev is actually a big sweetheart. He's a super nice guy. He's not at all intimidating. The nicest guy you'll ever meet, man. The one fighter, I've never been bothered by a fighter, but there was one time when I was interviewing Berman Stavern, of all people, and he was just having a shitty day, and he kind of just got up here with his answer, and he just kind of grilled me, and you could tell he was really, really irritated, and he was kind of just grilling me and staring at me, and I was a little like, whoa, is this dude gonna take a shot at me? Like, I was getting ready to like slip. I was getting ready to look for like a jab or something. But it turns out he's just having a shitty day, whatever. And like, I went back to the fight hotel because this was around fight week, and logged on and stuff, and I was checking my Twitter, and he had followed me. He follows me on all my social media stuff. So I followed him and stuff, and he's actually a super cool, nice guy. It's just he was having a shitty day, and I was just a little bit put off by his energy at that moment. He looked like, and I just think he was about to fight Chris Arreola. And I think he was just ready to fight. He was over shit. I've seen Golovkin like that one time, but I know Golovkin well. So it's just a different situation. But it was my first time meeting Stavern. And it was just his energy. It was just like, still going to take a swing at me? Like, I really couldn't tell. I couldn't read him. So that was the one moment that stands out to me. John also asked, what's the best thing about ATL so far? So far, dude, affordability. And people here are extremely friendly. True story. Me and Tiff are walking around. I think we were at a Braves game. And there was a couple guys who just talked to us. And I thought they were trying to scam me. That was just my first instinct. And that's happened a few times here. Where there was a guy in the gym the other day. I was having Tiffany hit mitts. She likes to hit mitts with me sometimes, and I like to teach her some stuff. And this guy, as we're walking out, he's like, yo, looking good, and I was just like, what's that supposed to mean? That was my first thought. He's just like, you looking good, man. Like I was like, oh. And I had to think, like, he's just being nice. I was like, thanks. Like I had to I've lived in the big city my whole life, and I'm used to people always having an angle. There's always something they want. There's always, So here in Atlanta, it's just different. The people aren't like that. It's very, very different. And then affordability. We've gone out to restaurants here, and the waitress will be like, "Can I bring you a drink menu?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure. We like to drink." And it's cocktail list, blah blah blah, and $7.99. What? What I'm saying? Premium cocktail list, $9.99. What? In LA, it's like $17. If you go to Outback Steakhouse and order a drink, it's $17. Here, it's $8. So just stuff like that, man. And yeah, so far, those are the two best things. Jerry Pleasant asks, what 3 things would you change to make professional boxing better? Well, first of all, let's get rid of the junior and super divisions. I did a video called, I think it was called The Junior and Super Divisions in Boxing Suck or something like that. Look it up, where I talk about the history of those divisions. They were the original catchweights. That's how they really started. The original catchweights became the super and junior divisions. And if you got rid of them overnight, the remaining divisions in boxing would double or triple in terms of the competition and the talent. We'd be in a much better place. That, to me, would be more important than getting rid of the sanctioning organizations, because you need them to a degree, because boxing is so globalized. You get rid of the junior and super divisions, overnight, this sport doubles, maybe even triples some divisions in the terms of quality of fights you get. Overnight. Secondly, NCAA boxing scholarships in the United States. Here in the United States, you can be, if you are just a big person, if you are, let's say, 6'6", and you can play basketball fairly well, you can get a scholarship to, it might not be Division I, but it could be Division II, Division III, whatever. You can get a college education. But you can't do that through boxing, which makes no sense. It's stupid. So I think if they changed that, and we had kids getting scholarships to box, you get more kids going to the amateurs. Also, getting rid of the interim silver diamond belts. Just have one damn champion per division if you're a sanctioning body. I can deal with the 4 different sanctioning groups, but get rid of all the damn stupid belts. It's just ridiculous. Best and worst referee in boxing today. I think Jack Reese does a pretty damn good job. I think Steve Smoger was my man, but he's not very active anymore. Jack Reese, overall, and it's not just what he does in the ring, it's outside the ring. I've gone to seminars with the California State Athletic Commission where Jack will sit down and talk to you, talk about their medical procedures, drug testing procedures, emergency medical evacuation procedures, and he's on it, man. He's just on it. He's a career firefighter, so it just he served the community, and now what he's doing in boxing, I just think he's probably, if not the best, among the best. And as far as who I don't like, I don't want to beat up on anybody, man, but Ian John Lewis, Marlon Wright, Lawrence Cole, I get nervous when I see them. Nice people, by the way, nice guys. I just get a little nervous when they're working a fight. Best and worst judge in boxing today. Well, come on, Adelaide Byrd. I mean, Adelaide Byrd, is that even a question? Look up my infamous rant with Bob Bennett last year. That was pretty much all about Adelaide Byrd. As far as the best, I think Steve Weissman usually does a good job. Coincidentally enough, he's had some questionable scorecards recently, but he actually, I think, does a pretty good job most of the time. Who are the 3 greatest living fighters? Bro, that's hard. Off the top of my head, I'd say Chavez Sr., Leonard, and Roy Jones. I think, now I'm sure there's people I'm forgetting. Floyd and Manny, they're in that space, but those 3 guys, just off the top of my head. Oh, Larry Holmes, there's another guy too. Scorpio 11477. Bivol and Kovalev are fighting on August 4th on the same card in Atlantic City. Is the idea for the 2 of them to unify immediately after, if they're both victorious? One of the more intriguing unifications that can be made in any division. I agree with you. And I met both of them, interviewed them. Look for it on my channel, my interviews with Bivol and Kovalev. We caught up in LA at a fight card. And for the record, Bivol and his people were ready to fight Kovalev immediately. It was actually Kovalev and Made Events that wanted to take some time before that fight. HBO definitely wants it. And it's a fairly affordable fight considering how important of a fight it would be. For HBO, it's a very cheap fight. So, yes, I do think that will happen next. And I don't know if it'll be the end of this year. It's possible the beginning of next year. But I do think if they're both victorious, we're going to see that fight. And it's a hell of a matchup. Hamed92 asked a few questions here. If I could make one fight in boxing, what would it be? Crawford Spence. As I said, I think in part 3 of this series, I think it's this generation's Leonard Hearns. I just think that these 2 guys, 2 Americans, same division, pretty much around the same age. I know Crawford's a little older, but I want that fight. I want a series of those. I want to see him fight 3 times. If I met Al Heyman, what question would I ask him? Man, that's a good question, bro. Coincidentally enough, I've seen Heyman, and I said hi to him, but he just kind of put his head down and was like, hi. He was polite, but I've seen him in the bowels of an arena. I think it was Citizens Bank Arena in Ontario. I saw him. Anyway, so I have seen him before, but if I could ask him one question, I would ask him, what was his business plan / vision for PBC? That's what I would want to know, because other than making money for him, I can't figure out what the hell the plan or vision was for PBC, because it was all over the place. It was a mess. Would I entertain a live debate on a podcast professionally done that included facts and opinions backed up by facts? Absolutely. Debate is good, reasonable, logical, respectful, adult. Debate is very, very good. And I've had plenty of those debates with people over the years. So bring it on. MJB Taco asks, what's up, MJB? He asks, what kind of beer do you want for the barbecue? Liquor. And who do I got, Mikey or Easter? So he's talking about next month I'll be out there in LA covering Garcia Easter. And obviously you got to go with Mikey. Mikey's just got more levels. Easter is bigger. It's going to make it interesting. Mikey just got more levels. Just a better fighter, man. Jorge Avila asks, do you believe 17 years old is too late to start getting into boxing, such as training and joining the amateur ranks? Most of the best fighters started boxing very young, of course. Well, my opinion on this is it's much easier to get into boxing later when you're in the bigger divisions. And if you look historically, man, Rocky Marciano, Archie Morris, Sonny Liston, I think they were all in their early 20s when they started fighting. Ken Norton started in the Marine Corps. Ray Mercer started in the Army. It's much, much easier for bigger fighters. Even Anthony Joshua, I think he started at 18 years old. Deontay Wilder started late. and they've been pretty successful. But when you're a middleweight, when you're a welterweight, when you're a lightweight, you're going up against guys who have been boxing for so long, and they fought so much international competition in the amateurs when they were children, you know, when they were teenagers. I can't think off the top of my head of an all-time great lightweight, welterweight, middleweight that came into boxing really, really late. I know Bernard Hopkins, I think, came into boxing pretty late. He's kind of this special case, right? And that's more to do with his style, and he owned a pretty weak middleweight division. The middleweight division was very weak in that era. Much weaker than what we see right now with Golovkin and Canelo and Charlo and Derevyanchenko and Jacobs and Murata and all these guys right now, right? And Jaime Munguia is going to be there soon. Like, this division is a lot more stacked than the one Hopkins ran, but still, he's a name that comes to me. But if you're not a heavyweight or a cruiserweight, going to be tough to start boxing very, very late, brother. Akfiu asks, if I could get in the ring with anyone involved in the boxing world, whether it's a boxer, YouTuber, analyst, sanctioning body president, who would it be? I'm going to keep it just to media. I think it'd be fun to spar Max Kellerman. And I say that because Max actually has trained before. I don't think he does now, but I know he has. The thing with Max is he's only like 5'10", 5'11", so I'd have too much of a size advantage. And he's like 6 years older than me. Someone like Chris Mannix would be better because I've met Chris Mannix in person, and he's my height. He's a pretty tall guy. He's a pretty big guy, and we're around the same age. He's a little older, but we're pretty much around the same age. So somebody like him would be kind of fun to spar. I just think that would be fun, man. I'd love to be able to set something like that up. Of course, some of the YouTube idiots who bash me, it'd be fun to get in the ring and train with them and stuff and just spar and play around. But those guys would never do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they won't even show their face in their videos half the time. All right, last one. Hayden Burke 2 asks, who is the greatest fighter of all time? It's a tough question, but my default answer is Sugar Ray Robinson. I go back and forth. There are other great fighters, but I just think pound for pound, you can make an argument that Sugar Ray Leonard would beat Sugar Ray Robinson, but just for what he accomplished in his time and what he did, I generally tend to go with Sugar Ray Robinson. And then he also asked about the FIFA World Cup 2018. That's like the third question I've had on the World Cup. And again, I'll just say, nope, haven't watched a minute of it. All right, guys, you know what? We're going to do one more section that is just one question because it's a political question. And I know some of you don't like that shit. So we're going to separate that one. And then that's it. I hope you guys are enjoying these Ask Me Anything segments.